Morning, morning. Monday morning. You're back.
Yeah, I'm back.
How you feeling now?
Well, so and so.
So and so. It go be small.
Small.
Yeah. Good to have you.
I missed you.
Ah, you did?
I did.
You should have brought me a gift then. Bring me a gift and say, oh, my darling, I missed you. This is for you.
Don't worry, okay.
Missed you guys too. I mean, Cookie is also under the weather still, so we just hope that she also recovers soon.
It's fine.
So we can have a team back.
We can have a team.
Yeah. That's when you guys gave me different boyfriends.
Oh,
1 minute it was Roland, then it was Samani,
Martin,
then it was Martin as well. What are you trying to tell me?
I'm not part of the plot.
You are not?
I don't know anything about it.
You are trying to tell me something. Don't worry. One day I'll find my own.
I wasn't here. But good to be back.
Good to be back.
Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us here on TV3Newday. We're back again to have real national conversations. And today's Agric Day. We'll talk a lot about Agric, food, whether the policies of government has really yielded the necessary results that were envisaged. We'll talk about fertilizer. We'll talk about feeding in the schools, which has become a problem.
They're embarking on a strike today.
They are.
The women who are feeding our school children are saying that as of today, they're embarking on an indefinite strike because, over time, students have been fed on 97 pesos.
Right.
Now they're saying that it's not enough. It's never been enough. So we want 3 cedis. Besides, you owe us some money. You haven't paid that yet. And so if you do not heed to our demands, we're not cooking for our kids. And for me, that's worrisome.
It is.
Because for parents who may not be able to afford food, for their kids, which is why most of them even enroll their kids in school anyway, because they know that at least lunch, my child will eat some lunch. Yeah. Today, and God knows how long this is going to last, they're not going to get food in school. I'm worried.
When the late Dr. Maku Tufo envisaged the school feeding program under President Kufuor, the thinking was that there's some connection between feeding and learning. And that it was also going to create access and some level of quality education because, like you rightly stated, in the villages and in other places, people are so impoverished that they cannot even afford the children some food to take to school. And the children would rather stay at home, be on the farms, and try and get something to eat. So, bless his soul, the late Dr. Maku Tufo had envisaged this and had it well thought out and planned. You remember sometime early this year, not so long ago, about a month or 2 ago, we're told that the expansion of the school feeding program was put on hold because of funding issues. Now, if it's become imperative that government at this time cannot fund it, what is the who and she? What's it about? Because who says the parents themselves at this point? I mean, no parent would allow their child to be fed in 97 cedis. When in fact 97 pesos. When in fact they could do even 2 cedis or 3 cedis for their children. Yeah. I think we need to have the populism is becoming too much in this country. And I also suspect largely that it's because of the things that were said in the past by the president and the vice president. It's becoming difficult for them to go back on some of the words, some of the things that they ridiculed in the past. But you see, it has a bigger ripple effect on the children. And the same thing is happening in our prisons.
It is.
A fully grown man and woman fed with 1 cedi 80 pesos for breakfast, lunch, and supper. What kind of meaningful food can you give to such a person? You're trying to reform the person. And the person is being starved. What kind of reformation are you giving?
Exactly.
You're trying to teach the children, and the children are not getting quality food. What kind of teaching are you teaching them? And you see, when I say these things, people get angry. People disagree. It's fine. That's the beauty of democracy. But then the people who make these policies don't have their children eating that kind of food. And you should see the food they give the children. Sometimes there's no fish, there's no meat. So you're trying to create a certain nutritional buffer for the children. And you just serve them rice with some sorry stew, an apology of jollof, some wache with... I don't get it.
Which is why when I heard the Agric Minister say over and over again that planting for food and jobs has been extremely successful, for me that was a problem.
Don't mind the Agric Minister.
And even last week, we had an MPP rep in the studio, so we even came up with a conversation about one village, one dam. And most of these dams have dried up. The Peasants Farmers Association went around the Upper East region and did a whole documentary on that. The farmers were complaining that we were supposed to get these dams to at least water our farms throughout the year. Most of them had dried up. The ones that are still there with very little water, it's the animals that are drinking from it. And she said at least the animals are drinking from it. That's one side of planting for food and jobs. And I was traumatized when I heard that because I couldn't believe it that this is a program. Yes, maybe there's a plan to have animals also drink from it, but these farmers are complaining that these animals go and drink from it, contaminates the water. We cannot use that to water the same farms for you and I to eat. And you are telling me that at least animals are drinking from it, so to some extent it has been successful.
When the planting, there's a reason I say don't mind the agric minister, and don't mind his deputy as well. Don't mind the president, don't mind the vice president. It was the president who stood in parliament and told us that Ghana is now a net exporter of food and that we do no longer import basics like tomatoes and all of that.
Even grains.
This year, and at the instance of last year, we have banned the exportation of food twice. The net exporter of food is banning the exportation of food. So what is the claim? And what is the reality on the ground? Our warehouses, do they have food in them? The farms, the farmers, and I'm in agreement with you when you say you were traumatized. When you say you were traumatized, because we have planting for food and jobs, we have rearing for food and jobs, and then we have planting for export and rural development. There are three separate programs, even though they are interlinked. So that when you know that in Ghana you have two main seasons, okay, when it rains, and then you tell me that you are going to construct dams so that we have an all year round planting season. And then the dams are drying up, some have caved in, some have been washed away, because Howard Kumsin told us that the money we are giving her, this is the quality of dams she can give us. And then you are telling me that the animals are drinking from it. That's another form of planting for food and jobs. The animals, they be plants. The animals, we they plant them. Can we plant cows and goats and sheep? Can we plant chicken? Can we plant egg? So some of the times when duty bearers say these things, and you see, all of these initiatives are done with our money. So we have a right to ask questions. They are done with our money. When you go to the market, and there's a quote I saw from Dr. Baumia over the weekend, quoted on, what do you call it, GNA. He says that the economy is about the pocket. So no level of gymnastics can make it look, it is at the end of the day about your pocket. So if I go to Malamata and I want to buy a bunch of plantain, and as the minister says it's 4 cedis, and I get it for more than 60 cedis, I'll be wondering.
Plantain is about 80.
I'll be wondering why the minister keeps insisting that the program has been successful, but the food is not on the market. Even when we have banned the exportation of food, the food is not on the market, and we are importing food. We're importing tomatoes from Morocco. We're importing rice. We're importing maize. We're importing what do you call onions. We're importing everything in this country. Cassava, cassava, and then we're told that it's industrial cassava, as if to say that the land we have here cannot grow the kind of industrial cassava we're looking at. So the populism is too much paper leadership. Too much paper leadership, too many speeches going on. And people don't like it when I say it, but I'll say it anyway because the reality is on the ground. The reality is in my pocket. If I spend more than 60% of my earning on transport alone to and from work, that's not good.
I remember the Greek minister again once said, I think this was about 2 years ago, that we're going to ban the importation of rice into the country by 2023. And so there was a whole campaign on eating locally produced rice. I mean,
this was after we had done the story about the rice glut.
Exactly.
From BC,
I saw a few productions here and there on why you should eat rice. What has happened to that? Till date, we haven't seen that. In fact, if you look at the statistics, it says here that in 2020 alone, we imported $391 million worth of rice into the country. into the country. That's crazy. $391 million of rice into the country. Imagine if we were investing this money into local rice producers. I remember that even after the rice glut, towards the end of last year, rice farmers were complaining in the Upper West region because they were saying that, first of all, you know, the weather had changed, and so climatic reasons, they could not even get enough rain to plant their rice. And fertilizer was a problem as well. So a lot of them could not plant, you know, the acres that they usually would plant. So what does that mean? What's the ripple effect? It means that less rice production in the country, and that means more importation. How are we addressing that before 2023?
You know, I sat in front of the President of the Republic with other journalists in 2019. It was on the 20th of December, 2019. The President, addressing this matter, said that going forward, no state institution, ministry, department, agency should import rice. But if they have any refreshment to give people who have come for press conferences, what have you, end of year party, they should use local rice. I would want the Minister for Information and the Agric Minister and the President himself to say, since I gave this order in 2019, this is what has happened, because the importation of rice keeps increasing. So it tells you that really people within the ministry, departments and agencies do not even respect the President's orders. This is the President of the Republic. And again, it comes back to policy making. The President sees the press, he announces a policy, and there is no policy document to follow up for implementation. There's no legal backing, because if there are no laws, there will be no policy. There's no policy, there will be no implementation. There will be no monitoring and evaluation. It's basic. And I don't believe that the people in power don't know that. So when the President announced on the 19th of December, or on the 20th of December 2019, at the Jubilee House, I was sitting right in front of him, not so far away. He made this promise. So today, as we speak, in fact, as of last December, when we had Christmas, and then when we had Easter, did they use local rice? That's the question we should be asking. And you see, the farmers are asking these questions because the rains have started. Some say it's abnormal because it started way too early. Fertilizers are not available. The farmers who can not afford the fertilizers will lose out.
They will.
Because at this point, they're supposed to be planting because the rains have started. Now, they don't have access to fertilizer. If they have access to it, it's too expensive, which means that eventually when the rice grows and they harvest, it will be much more expensive. So now, on the local front, production itself is too expensive. I would opt for imported rice because it's cheaper. But then the money goes into a few pockets, as opposed to getting the monies into many other pockets who are farming. And we are telling young people to go into entrepreneurship, to go into farming, to go into this. Fertilizer no day, soft loans no day, everything no day. So how they go survive? How would they survive? How would they survive?
We import so much that we even import fish into the country.
I say we import
fish. Do you know how much we spent on fish? So it says between 2017 and 2020, we imported 3.993 billion Ghana cedis worth of fish into the country. Chicken that's processed, 1.881 billion Ghana cedis. 487 million Ghana cedis worth of meat. 281,000 Ghana cedis worth of vegetables. And, million cedis worth of vegetables. And 184 million Ghana cedis worth of poultry. Between 2017 and 2020, we've imported $1 billion worth of rice into the country. That's how much money we're spending importing.
You say, quote the fish figure again.
So fish, and this is according to the Ghana News Agency, says that the fish is 3.993 billion Ghana cedis worth of fish into the country. You know, a country that should have these resources available.
You know that we've been paying lip service to pair trawling, light fishing, all those ones. Now we started what we call the close season. It was, dormant for some time until this regime came and we had to bring it back, starting under President Kufuor. Now, do you know that last year and the year before, the Homowo celebrations had to import fish to use? I'm Ghana, you're Ghana.
Shocking.
The reason they bully inshore and all of that is because we will get fish. We did close season.
We locked it.
We locked the sea with ceremony.
Yeah,
big
we
key,
locked it.
with comedy. The fisher folks, they go fishing and they get nothing because, again, we have allowed, pair trolling, light fishing. It is happening. It is happening right now. And when you go, they have guns. The Chinese and they have guns. The fisher folks will tell you, they have guns. The leadership of the thought, they have lost touch with the people. They sit, write memos and paper, and they have lost touch with the people. I tell you, when you go to Jamestown, you go to Simpa, you go to Pampram, you go to Ningo, you go to all those places where they fish. The fisher folks will tell you the difficulties. So then we make a big case. Oh, we have subsidized outboard motors for them. There's a premix committee. But then when the people buy the premix and they take your outboard motor and they pay in installments and they go out fishing, they bring nothing home.
Nothing.
Because there's a bigger vessel out there that's fishing, and when they fish and they get the fingerlings, they toss them the dead fish back into the sea. We know this. We know this. We set up a whole ministry for fisheries. We know it. Question is our minister for fisheries competent enough to be there? Is the minister for fisheries competent enough to be handling this? Because we have closed season. How many times? 5 or 6 times, right? What has been the impact of it?
Of that.
And in implementing any policy, you always come back to evaluate. After the evaluation process, what did we see? What did we see? What did we see? The fisher folks, they complain, and they complain bitterly because that is their only livelihood. Now they are complaining that people are taking their wives from them because they can't take care of their wives. Go to Bukom and check. I'm sure you've seen Bukom Banku's video. Go to Bukom and check.
I have.
He said, Abomboklat Mofemo. Go and check. It's a serious matter. And I've always said that don't politicize a Greek. Don't politicize energy.
Education.
Don't politicize education. Don't politicize security. Don't politicize the economy. We have succeeded in politicizing all 5. And that is why we are where we are. So now we have got into a point where when you speak, people say, oh, man, Kasa, you can't solve all the country's problem. I'm not trying to solve all the country's problem. That's not what we are doing here. But we are trying to let people know that we are seeing what you are doing. And because we have adopted democracy, there's nothing we can do about it but to talk about it and to point you towards where the people hope that help will come from. This morning, as you take your bath to go to work, you have to go to work and actually work and earn your salary. If you go to work and you work and the people don't see the impact of your work in their lives as a public servant or as a political person or whatever it is, you should bow down your head in shame. You are the reason the people are hungry. You are the reason the people are impoverished. You are the reason the people are not happy. You are the reason the people will fight drivers' mates and tractor mates. You are the reason. You. I'm talking to you. You are the reason. And you, who are an appendage and defending them and boisterous and all of the, you are also the bigger problem. You are part of the future's problem. Good morning.